pregame sponsored by Ford. Go further. Oscar Robertson in the house here tonight as the Stars are out to witness the rivalry between Cincinnati and Xavier. The 81st meeting of all time between the Bearcats and the Musketeers is coming up. Hi, everybody, and welcome inside U.S. Bank Arena. Good to have you with us tonight. Mike Corey, former UConn Husky Donnie Marshall. Well, here we go. What a rivalry between these two. You get up a little bit more for these type of games, don't you?
Yeah, and if you don't, then you don't have a pulse. This is a game and a rivalry that began back in the late 20s, Mike. Not only that, I guarantee you, both these teams have had this game circled on their calendar since the last time they met last year in December.
They are ready to go. Technically, in a neutral site here today, both teams in the city of Cincinnati are 7-0. Someone's going to win bragging rights here when this one is all said and done. Opening tip, Cincinnati and Xavier coming up next here on Fox Sports. Almost ready for the tip, Cincinnati and Xavier. Starting five for the Bearcats. Sean Kilpatrick. We'll be talking a lot about him. The senior from Yonkers, New York. His 115th straight game. Every game of his career since redshirting. And for Xavier, it's Christon. Semaj Christon, the sophomore point guard from Cincinnati, Ohio, right here in town. Solid player, averaging over 16 points a game. The rookie of the year last year in the Atlantic 10. Of course, Xavier now in the Big East this year. This is the Crosstown Classic here in Cincinnati. 81st meeting, as we said, between these two schools that are separated by only 3 miles. As you talked about, Donnie, first meeting back in 28. They played every year since 1946, 68 straight here this season.
I'm not sure the kids on each team understand how big this is, but I'm sure both coaching staffs have told them, listen, this is for bragging rights. You're going to walk out of your dorm and into Cincinnati, and this game will mean a lot to you.
Cincinnati at 7-1 on the season, coming off their first loss at New Mexico the other night from Mick Cronin. What a job he's done here rebuilding this program. Had one returning letterman when he started, and they've been to the NCAA tournament the last 3 straight years, primed to try to make another run at it again this year for Cincinnati. On the other side, Chris Knapp for Xavier, same thing. An amazing job by him. First 3 years at the helm, they went to the tournament. 2 Sweet 16 appearances in 2010 and 2012. Just missed out last year, and they're at 7-3 to start this 2013-14 campaign. We were here earlier, Donnie, checking out the shoot-arounds for both teams. There's a little bit of a difference between the two, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a little bit. You know, you had more teaching going on the Cincinnati side. I think you're trying to really integrate some of your younger guys you're going to have to lean on throughout this season. And on the other side for Xavier, I mean, they popped through a lot of things. Both teams, very competitive shoot-arounds. The energy is exactly what you wanted coming into this game. I don't think either team will have a problem getting up for this game.
We just saw Matt Stainbrook for Xavier trying to get his knee brace situated. That's why we've got the delay here. And this place is jumping, and it's pretty well divided. You got the dark blue here for Xavier from midcourt halfway around, and then you got the red for Cincinnati on the other side here at U.S. Bank Arena, a neutral site, right?
And that's what they say. And I tell you what, this feels like an NCAA championship game. It really does. Already, folks, in December.
Justin Jackson for Cincinnati and Matt Stainbrook for Xavier for the opening tip, and we're underway. Mike Stewart, Tim Clockerty, and Tony Green are officials for tonight's game. And the Bearcats start with it on offense. This is Rubles. And right off the bat, a foul on the offensive end. It's on Justin Jackson.
And really not the start, obviously, that you wanted if you're Mick Cronin, because you understand you are not that deep. So the guys you have on the floor, they have to be much smarter. As you see Jackson already going to the bench.
Cincinnati started 7-0 to begin the year. They lost at New Mexico in the pit. Their home arena 63-54. In their first road game of the season. So you learn a little bit from that one here. And now you play a tough Xavier team in a packed house here tonight in your home city.
I love what Cincinnati's doing early. They're picking up 94 feet. Get that pressure. Use this energy from the crowd.
Justin Martin trying to get it in. And gets it back from Stainbrook. Martin right down the lane, and it's too strong. And it gets tipped up all the way up to the top to D. Davis. Davis looking for a little alley-oop down low to Christon, and he knocked it out of bounds.
Talking to Coach Mack earlier today, he said one of the things that we have to focus on against Cincinnati is taking better care of the basketball. And there you see turnover really on your first possession of the game.
Well, Xavier comes off a win against Evansville at home the other night, 63-60. That didn't come without a fight. They really had to work their way back into that one. They were down double digits, ended up winning by 3. Rubles in and out with a shot. Kilpatrick had a hand on the rebound, and it's going to be knocked out by Xavier. Well, let's take a look at tonight's Infinity player to watch, and Semaj Christon for the Xavier Musketeers. How special is this guy?
Yeah, well, the Musketeers have a very, very good player. He's a kid who's still learning his game, developing, not a three-point shooter. Will get to that right hand every time he can tonight.
And here's Kilpatrick, the top players in the league, the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. For Cincinnati, what they are in this year, there's a turnover, and quickly up to Christon, falling down, but scoops it up and in.
Terrific balance in the open floor. You have to keep your focus. Was thinking maybe would have gotten fouled there, but the presence of mind to focus on making the basket.
Minute and a half gone by. Xavier with the first basket of the night. Jelon Gwynn directing traffic. Feeds it over for Thomas. His shot is off the mark. Rebound, Christon.
Xavier, great patience in transition. Go inside to your big fella.
They get it to Stainbrook. Does a nice job of recognizing where the double team comes down, gets out of it. Fillmore. And he lost it out of bounds.
Another turnover for Xavier. Just can't happen this early, and this is what Mick Cronin does not want from his scorer, Kilpatrick. Be more patient, and here's Semaj Christon doing a great job with that focus in the finish.
Well, he's got some help around him now, Christon. You know, that was the thing. Last year didn't quite have as much. They've got a few more players that can really kind of help benefit Xavier this year. They said that Christon's been great, just needs to work on his communication a little bit more and be a leader, but he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, it's tough to get your guys, your young guys, to really talk and yell at guys, but that's a part of being a leader anywhere in the country at this level of basketball.
Rubles. Stainbrook got the rebound for Xavier. Davis feeds it to Fillmore, and he lost it out of bounds. That's the third turnover now by Xavier at the start. They lead it 2-0.
Cincinnati really getting away with having Rubles take 2 jump shots. That's exactly what Xavier wants. Let their bigs shoot all day long, but at the other end, transition, you have to do a better job. We're going to harp on this, taking care of the basketball through Xavier. There's some jitters going on here.
I would say so. Jackson rejected a foul, and Stainbrook is down low. They'll call him for the foul, his first.
And it's a much better play because right now the officials also, remember, they have some energy levels that they have to deal with both teams. They understand what's going on, the guys in the stripes. So put the pressure on them a little bit early. I like that. Get yourself to the basket. Better than shooting jump shots.
So here's the senior, Justin Jackson, for Cincinnati. We'll have 2 free throws at the line. Jackson, a guy who has dramatically improved, as you see James Farr checking in for Stainbrook for Xavier. Jackson, in terms of points over his career, Donnie, 2.5, 5.1, 3.8 last year. Now he's averaging over 10.
Well, he really has to. If the pressure is on him to step up or not play. You know, talking to Mick Cronin today, he says, listen, we have guys who are upperclassmen who have to step up. He's one of those guys.
1 of 2 at the line for Jackson, and it's 2-1 Xavier. Almost 3 minutes gone by here in this first half. Farr trying to post up down low, along with Fillmore, and Christon says, let's clear it out here.
This is the matchup everyone wants to see. Christon Kilpatrick.
Long 3 in the way by Davis. Connects. D. Davis from right onside. 5-1 Xavier.
That's another threat that Xavier has from D. Davis. He can put the ball on the floor and penetrate, but also pretty good at standstill shooting from that range.
And he was a guy that he'll say it himself that he struggled in the Bahamas when Xavier was down there in the battle for Atlantis. They lost all 3 games. Those are where all their losses have come from, and now he has responded as of late. And missed 3, but a foul on Xavier as that shot was up by Jelon Gwynn.
Right now, Cincinnati playing into what Xavier wants. They want jump shots over the top. And there you see Kilpatrick going out of the game. Johnson in for him, and that right there is just Cronin thinking about his stud, giving him some rest because he knows he's going to have to lean on him as this game progresses.
Foul on Justin Martin, his first for Xavier. As you said, Kevin Johnson is checked in for Kilpatrick. He has it right now. Now for three. Got it.
Shows you what the youngsters about. Your first shot when you get in the game is from deep range and you make it.
Pretty good substitution right there, right?
That's coaching, right? Yeah. That's called an icebreaker.
Yeah. We'll give him Star a little bit of rest. Here's Martin trying to respond for Xavier, and he does for three.
And the key for your guys, no matter where you're at in the shot clock, is to take good shots. That was a good open shot for Martin.
Justin Martin, who had the go-ahead basket in that win over Evansville, had a huge block in the game late as a traveling violation is called on Justin Jackson of Cincinnati. Just underway here in the Crosstown Classic. These two rivals going at it. 8-4 Xavier.
That's got everyone talking.
I didn't even know we were coming on TV.
Neither did I. That was a total surprise.
Fox Sports Live. After the game on Fox Sports 1.
Two great universities, two great basketball traditions, one classic rivalry, showcasing one spectacular city, Cincinnati, home of the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. This year, the University of Cincinnati and Xavier University Crosstown Classic celebrates the Freedom Center and honors its focus on courage, cooperation, and perseverance. UC and XU, together for our community.
Get an early preview of all the day's action with Fox NFL Kickoff. Tomorrow at 11 on Fox Sports 1.
Bragging rights in the city of Cincinnati on the line tonight between Cincinnati and Xavier. Schools 3 miles apart here in town. 8-4 Musketeers in the early going. Talk about the shooting numbers here right off the bat. Cincinnati 1 for 5, Donnie, with 3 turnovers.
You know, these teams combined have more turnovers than made field goals. It tells you there's some jitters going on in this building, but I love the energy. It's better than coming out flat, which would probably be impossible in this game, in this building, in this environment.
Well, during shoot-around today for Xavier, Coach Chris Mack, he was yelling and screaming and said, I do not want to walk through the offense. You know, you guys know what you're in for here tonight. Let's go. We've got to be fired up, getting ready for this one here.
And as much as you love what they did in shoot-around and as far as their energy level, this is a game that you want to not only have energy, but you want to be cerebral. You want to think about what you're doing and taking care of the ball.
Troy Copain is checked in for Cincinnati. He was guarding Davis at the top. Now for Christon. Over to Farr, who's going to fire up a 3, and he nails it. What a shot for the big guy, James Farr from Evanston, Illinois.
And Cronin doesn't like it. You understand that Farr does most of his work in that post area, offensive rebounds. But here's a kid who has touch. He can be very special from long range, and you see right away the matchup just wasn't where it should be. Communication is so important in these situations.
Farr has hit it at over 53% from three-point range this season, and Xavier is 3 for 3 from beyond the line by 3 different players as they lead at 11-4.
And these are situations that prepare you down the road. Well, Mick Cronin is telling his guys, listen, communicate, but switch up into it. That means do not let a guy have that much airspace to catch and shoot, regardless of who it is.
Farr at 6'9", at the Maine Central Institute, the most improved player by far this year. He's been rebounding well, averaged only 3 minutes per game last year, and has really been a force so far this year with 8 points and 6 boards on average.
You know, he's 6'9", 225 pounds, and has a nice touch from out there. So Xavier, they don't have a problem letting him do that.
Kilpatrick is back in and wastes no time as he gets his first shot of the night to go down. 11-6 Musketeers.
Yeah, 5 minutes in, I think it's taken a little bit of time, but that's all due to the Xavier defense on that end.
Sometimes that's maybe all you need, just to kind of step back for a minute, watch it from the sideline, regroup, get back in.
Arna gave him a breather, he jumps back in, they run something for him, knocks down the shot.
Fillmore posting up, now sets a screen for Martin. Fillmore It's like 5 guys all around him there for Cincinnati, and they're going to come up with a steal. It's Copain in the corner.
Great job collapsing by Cincinnati's defense there, and that's 2 turnovers for Fillmore right now. Has to do a better job with that ball.
Thomas on the pull-up and converts.
Nice little mid-range. You can see now that it's a little bit more free-flowing for the Bearcats in the half court.
Well, Christon just pushed off, and they're all over it. So that's his first foul of the night, and turns it back over to Cincinnati.
Love the matchup with Kilpatrick and Christon. And here you see they collapse. Fillmore putting that basketball down. Biggs, if you're watching, young fellas at that position, don't put the ball down. Use your size. Don't make yourself smaller and give the defense a chance, those little guys, to come in there and chip away, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, Fillmore's had a little bit of trouble early on holding on to the ball down low, and Matt Steenbrook comes back in for him as he heads to the bench for Xavier. Shaquille Thomas.
Just a simple flex offense. You really have to move, keep your spacing. It's what Cronin talked about at practice today. Got to keep your spacing.
Shot clock inside 10. Here's Kilpatrick for 3, and that's short. Fights for his own rebound, and Thomas will come up with it. First 35. Copain for 3. Back rim, far the ball.
Too fast. 33 seconds on that shot clock. Every possession is so valuable.
Christon, that's going to be 2. Another offensive foul on Xavier's best player. Now Chris Mack has to get him out.
Now, as you talked to these coaches earlier in shoot-around, they say we have to go to our studs. Cronin knows if you get Christon out of the game with the second foul, you're going to have a better chance to run your stuff at both ends of the floor.
Well, that's going to change things here for Xavier. Semaj Christon, their top scorer at over 16 points a ball game. Logs the most minutes and is now on the bench.
And this is a situation, if you're Cincinnati, you keep the pedal to the metal. You don't let up just because Christon went to the bench.
Bearcats down 3. Justin Jackson over Steenbrook.
Jack's got to use his athleticism around Steenbrook. As great as Steenbrook is, you have to know his feet are not terrific. Laterally, you got to make him work a little bit.
Nice drive down the legs, hit up and in. And Farr hits it. And Xavier had 3 straight turnovers in the last 3 possessions. They get a basket there to go back up 5. Drive on the baseline. The pull-up was good by Copain. Rebound, Steenbrook.
Pretty good, though. You need other guys to stay aggressive and focus in on what they're doing offensively. Can't leave all the pressure on Kilpatrick. I don't mind that shot.
Pass a little bit too far for Farr that time, but he is able to knock it out of bounds off of Justin Jackson of Cincinnati. Good play. Here comes Jermaine Sanders for the first time tonight, and so does Titus Rubles, who checks back in, actually for Cincinnati.
You have to love the pressure of Cincinnati. They have an identity. They understand who they are. Yeah, they might lack something offensively, but they're going to make you work on the defensive end.
Yeah, a little bit of a shuffle of the feet that time by Brandon Randolph. When he gets the basket, you're looking for the travel there.
Yeah, I like Brandon Randolph, though. He takes care of the basketball. If you can get some points out of him, it's even more of a bonus with Christon on the bench with 2 fouls.
Randolph, the freshman from Inglewood, California, has played very well to start this season for Xavier. They are leading 15-8. Rubles. Up top of the 3 by Sanders. That's way off. Randolph the rebound.
Ball's in the wrong hand at the wrong time of the clock. You got to get the ball into your stud's hand, your veteran's hand. That's Kilpatrick.
And Steenbrook is going to be bumped and fouled, and that's going to take us to a timeout. Foul on Troy Copain. Just getting underway here in the Crosstown Classic. Xavier leads it 15-8. We'll be back.
What if you could give her diamonds in her
fillers or any medium drink, each for just $1.
Xavier fans in full force here tonight, cheering on the Musketeers. 15-8 after a great start so far. in Cincinnati. That's 7-1 this season. And here at the neutral site at US Bank Arena, they played in 6 different venues these two teams have over the years, don't it?
Well, it's amazing that you look around this building, and then folks at home, you can see at the top of your screen there. It feels like you're on a campus. It really does. You know, some people don't like it because you're not on either team's campus, but the energy in this building, the fans, they are into this game. They understand what it means to both teams.
Randolph will shot to get it back here. Crazy action in the offensive end. Cincinnati active defensively. Here's a 3 at the top. No good. Davis. Rebound by Rubles.
Looking for Kilpatrick to start to be more aggressive. You need for him to be selfish. If you're Mick Cronin, and there's another turnover and another turnover.
Well, like you were saying earlier, I think everybody's just a little bit too fast right now. After you make a play like that, hang on to it.
Slow down. You have to value the basketball. You have to appreciate it.
Jackson working baseline. Stainbrook shuts him off. Gwynn got it knocked away. Good defensive play by Miles Davis for Xavier. Stainbrook runs the floor, and Stainbrook is fouled.
Big fella moving pretty good up and down the floor. Came up with a steal, might have given it back, but there, on the previous play there, he did a terrific job of running, his teammates finding him. As a kid, we talked about the shoot-around has dropped a lot of weight, has taken care of his body. You know, this summer really started eating much better, started doing the things that he didn't really want to do in the weight room and training, and he looks terrific, the transfer from Western Michigan.
Fargo's out. Jalen Reynolds is in for the first time tonight for Xavier, the freshman. The foul was on Titus Rubles. And also Kevin Johnson back in for Cincinnati, and Sanders takes a seat for the Bearcats. Yeah, talking about shoot around. You and I got a chance to shoot around a little bit here today.
Yeah, you did. Your jumper's not bad.
I hit a couple. It's been a while.
Your jumper's not bad. I would take you on my team.
Foul underneath the basket here on the free throw. And it's going against Jalen Reynolds, the freshman who just checked in for Xavier. That's the 15th foul.
It's such freshman luck, you know, that he has such a bright upside, and he gets in the game. First play is a foul. Now, how do you dig your way out of that? How do you come back and do something productive right away? Put that mistake behind you.
Well, he's a guy that, you know, they talked about as a freshman trying to, the game needs to slow down a little bit for him. There's a foul here on Cincinnati as Randolph got the rebound. And maybe this is a type of a game for that right now, the way it's up and down, back and forth. Jevon Gwynn picks up his first for Cincinnati. And Kilpatrick takes another break. Trying to keep him well rested tonight.
Absolutely, because, again, he's your team's leading scorer. And as the game progresses, there are breakdowns, and he's hoping that Xavier will have breakdowns. And once you get Kilpatrick back in there, he has to be aggressive.
Here's Miles Davis. Halfway through the first half. D. Davis drives up and under, no. Looks for his own rebound, couldn't get it. Copain comes down with it for Cincinnati. Cincinnati hasn't had a field goal in over 4 minutes. Copain, strong drive, takes contact, shot doesn't go.
One assist right now for Cincinnati. Not going to get it done. You have to move the basketball, especially when Kilpatrick's not in the game.
Good defensive play by Rivers for the Bearcats. And driving and scoring is Kevin Johnson.
You needed that Cincinnati basketball creating offense with your defensive pressure.
And a full court press here by Cincinnati.
And that's just to slow the game down a little bit. Let your guys retreat, get into their stuff defensively.
Stainbrook. And he is fouled by Jackson.
Cardinal sin. They're big. He's 20 feet from the basket. He's already got a foul. And he reaches in and fouls that far away. It just cannot happen to an already thin bench.
And that's the second for Jackson, so he's out. Jermaine Lawrence is back in. And Xavier's going with a couple subs as well here. It's going to be Randolph taking a seat. And Justin Martin is back in.
Keep your eye on Miles Davis. Terrific shooter. His range is anywhere in the building.
Down low to Stainbrook. Double team coming down. Looks opposite. There's Miles Davis. Good extra pass to Martin for three. Count it.
All set up really by the pass from Stainbrook out of the post. You have to respect Miles Davis because he's such a good shooter. Makes the extra pass. It's terrific basketball there for Xavier.
How about Xavier shooting the three-pointer? They are 4 of 5 from three-point range here tonight. Johnson trying to counter. Can't do it. Rebound Martin.
That ball touched one player's hand. That entire possession in the half court can't happen.
Miles Davis for three. Yes.
And on cue, in the building, range. And he has the green light from Coach Mack.
Timeout Cincinnati. Xavier by 12 on 5 three-pointers.
The Volkswagen. Visit VWDealer.com today.
Xavier shooting.
Xavier on top by 12 points here. They're getting three-pointers all over the place. 4 different players have hit a three. Martin, Farr, D. Davis, and Miles Davis. They're on an 11-2 run here, Donnie Marshall.
And they've only missed 4 shots, Xavier, but you have to take care of the basketball. I mean, that's good basketball. They're spacing again on the offensive end. They throw it inside, and they have that balance. Now you throw into the mix a freshman in Miles Davis that can knock down long-range jumpers. It just adds really to the pressure of what Cincinnati's trying to do on defense.
Head coach Chris Mack for Xavier, he'll take it. Although his team has 8 turnovers. Hey, when you have 8 turnovers and you're up 12, you're like, okay.
Well, he told us in shoot-around what? We need to take care of the basketball.
Yeah.
And we need to rebound the basketball. Well, half of that is happening.
Half of it's happening.
That's on the glass. They're really dominating, 12-6.
Lawrence doesn't go. Martin the rebound. Xavier pushing the ball up the court. Stainbrook, power dribble, basket for 2.
When you're in traffic, you draw that attention because guys are trying to find who's hurting them. It happened to be Miles. Stainbrook right there, catch and finish.
And Copain fell down, and the ball is out of bounds. It's going to stay with Cincinnati, knocked out by Xavier. A game of 3 so far here tonight. D. Davis has hit 1. The other side, Kevin Johnson for Cincinnati, but it's been Xavier knocking him down. 5-1 three-pointers. They lead it by 14. We'll be back. Here we go with tonight's DirecTV game summary. Cincinnati has never led, and Xavier just continues to up their lead down 14, Donnie.
Yeah, I always focus when it's a team like Xavier who has size. I focus on paint scores, but in this game tonight, the paint really has not helped them at all. Well, they're 4 of 7 from 2-point range, so that tells you with 24 points up there that they're knocking down shots. 5 of 6 from three-point land. But it's not individual. 7 of their 9 made field goals have been assisted. So at the other end, Cincinnati's struggling because they only have 2 assists. They're trying to do it on their own. Not going to get it done against Xavier.
I was going to say, you've been unhappy with the way their offense in the half-court set has kind of worked. There's been some quick shots here early, and it hasn't helped them.
Yeah, and really, and I don't want to call it selfishness. I just think guys are getting caught up in the moment.
Right.
I mean, the one guy you do want to get caught up in the moment and be selfish is Kilpatrick. That is the guy who would have the green light.
Well, he's back in as he works underneath the basket. D. Davis is guarding him as he comes off a screen. Here he is. Thomas now for 3. Got it.
It's a terrific pass, but it's interesting how he comes in, he draws some attention, Kilpatrick, and then next thing you know, they collapse. Wide open shot for Shaquille Thomas.
That was big. They needed that. The sophomore from Patterson, New Jersey, cuts the lead down to 11. He's got 5 points.
Well, the one thing you don't want to do in this game, if you're watching at home, is turn away because don't let that score fool you. Cincinnati will not give up.
It is so early here in this one, folks. Cincinnati won last year 60-45. They've won 2 of the last 3 meetings. Stainbrook got knocked away, got it back, can't convert, and Copain is fouled as he got the rebound for Cincinnati.
Stainbrook just missed a bunny. He's going to kick himself for that one, but a pretty good move by the big fella. Can carve out space. Just came up a little short and couldn't get the putback. He protects that ball. They reach in. He stays with it, but just can't get the bunny. And then there, guys fighting. Martin comes away with the foul.
That's the 16th foul by Xavier. So there it is. Cincinnati in the bonus. Next foul.
And they need it desperately right now, but you have to use it. Get to the basket. You have a jump shot, take it.
Well, Kilpatrick was tied up down low with D. Davis, and they'll call Davis for the foul. And there we go. So Kilpatrick to the free throw line, and he is an excellent free throw shooter.
Yeah, these are tough situations for a team like Cincinnati. As you take a look, he's cutting down. I love the change of speed, but that's what you get. And you can't hold him up. You're out of bounds. It doesn't matter. You cannot let the guy impede his progress. And Kilpatrick is a scorer, so he knows how to move without the basketball.
Kilpatrick, 89.2% at the free throw line this season for Cincinnati.
Here's a kid that has a chance to be the second all-time leading scorer at this school. Why would you not go to him each and every time down the floor? You know, when you're looking through some of those stats, Mike, and I know you love that stuff, the big O is no one's ever going to catch him.
That's right.
And I know we're going to talk more about him later in the game, but Kilpatrick is a guy who needs, what, 399 or so?
399 coming in. Yeah, there's Oscar Robertson.
There's a big O.
All-time great.
I mean, it's just amazing.
Almost 3,000 points for him.
In 3 years, mind you.
Well, Kilpatrick had made 14 straight free throws till that miss. It's now a 10-point lead for Xavier, coming up on 6 minutes to play first half. Stainbrook. Shot clock at 10. Fall, he's hit one earlier, and he does it again. Three-pointer for James Fall.
From the same spot, and I think it's important to point out, Semaj Christon on the bench, and he's been there for a long time, and his teammates are making him proud.
That's a great point. Forgot about that. He had 2 fouls, and he went out a long time ago, and Xavier has done nothing but just continue to increase their lead. Rubles misses the jump there. Rebound Fall, playing inspired tonight.
Xavier eats up that glass. They really do. They know where they're at on the floor, and they crash.
Randolph into Stainbrook against the double team. Converts.
It's such a tough balance, especially for an undersized Cincinnati team when you know you're getting beat from three-point range. You relax a little in the paint, and then you pay in there by Stainbrook.
Kilpatrick off the screen. Quick jumper doesn't go. Stainbrook the board. Xavier been running all night. Martin. And they'll call a blocking foul. And going right into the Cincinnati fans. And now a technical foul has been called on Nick Cronin, Cincinnati's head coach.
Cronin took the jacket off, and I think I agree with him. I really believe Kilpatrick was in position to take that charge. He was squared up. And right now, it really is a subjective call. Take a look. I mean, he looks square to me. Everyone talks about the feet moving. From that angle, it looks like he may have slid a little.
I was going to say, I don't think he was set.
It's a tough call, but because you've seen calls being made by officials at every level when guys aren't set. I mean, there's a lot of gray area that comes into play with that.
Well, and with the new rules, too. I mean, just the mindset this year in college basketball completely different than last year, where a lot more calls were offensive fouls. Yeah. This year,
that angle, he looks, but he looks square. And this, you know, it's to me, this is a call that there really is no, there's no solid, this is what it is. It's no black and white. It's tough. As much as the NCAA wants it to be a black and white call, it can't be. It's all about opinion for a lot of situations, a lot of officials.
All right, so Justin Martin here is shooting the technical free throws. He's going to have one more, and Xavier will have the ball. That was the 16th foul called on Cincinnati, and then with the technical 7.
You know, it's always one of those calls like the plane of verticality. If you're jumping backwards and the offensive player is coming into you, which one is it? You know, is it
Right.
on the defense? Is it on the offense? It's a tough call for officials these days.
It's a shooting foul as well, so they got the 2 technical free throws, and we should have 2 more free throws coming up here. And we're going to have that right now. 6 points for Justin Martin. What a turn of events here early in this game, just to put Cincinnati in a major hole here to start. Foul on Kilpatrick. And Martin converting at the free throw line. Tomorrow, second-ranked Syracuse. How about C.J. Fair and Trevor Cooney? He can knock down some threes. They'll head to Madison Square Garden to take on St. John's, leading shot blocker in the nation, Chris Obekba. What a game that's going to be. Coverage begins tomorrow at noon Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1, presented by New York Life Insurance Company. And Martin converts at the free throw line. Xavier, Donnie, on a 17-4 run. They lead it by 19.
Well, let's see how Conan's crew responds to the technical and to the call that they disagree with right now.
And Cincinnati going to the basket where all the Xavier fans are behind right now here in this first half. Kilpatrick driving baseline. Rivers falls down. Kilpatrick is fouled by Falk.
Mike, I feel right now that the building is slanted because you have a lot of Xavier fans who are up and loud and cheering, and all the fans you see in red are not moving at all. They are stunned right now. But Sean Kilpatrick doing his best to try to keep his team in this, getting himself to the free throw line, slow the game down a little bit. You're scoring with the clock stopped, and you're keeping that Xavier fan base quiet.
How about Kilpatrick, 3-time Big East selection. Cincinnati now in the American Athletic Conference. Talked about him reaching the 2,000-point mark. And 2 very missed free throws for him so far in this game. Approaching the 4-minute mark here at U.S. Bank Arena. Xavier and Cincinnati, schools separated by just 3 miles. Battle for the city here tonight. Shot clock down to 5. And Xavier recognizing it here. There's Martin for a long 3, and that one's off. Staybrook offensive rebound. And we got a foul.
And the Bearcats kind of stood around when the shot went up, probably assuming it was going to go in like it has all game long. And right now, Xavier in full control, 33-14.
Jim, you once stuffed a dryer 3 times past the recommended limit. It took 60.
Up at the half, we got a close call for the #1 team in the country on the road. Arizona getting all they could handle. Plus, Syracuse and St. John square off tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. We'll tell you how the Johnnies can pull off the upset. Now back to Cincy with Mike and Donnie.
All right, Mike, thanks very much. What a start here for the Xavier Musketeers, 33-14 over Cincinnati. Last year's game, Donnie, at halftime was 24-20, you know, and we said, well, we're going to be in for kind of one of those kind of nitty and gritty type of ball games here tonight. Well, Xavier, they're on fire here to start. They're knocking down 3-pointers all over the place, playing well.
It's just a matter of the way they came out. High energy, some jitters maybe. That first 9 minutes, they had 8 turnovers. 0 in the last 7. I mean, that's how you get your team back really focused in on what's happening in the game. And you got to give Coach Mack a lot of credit because he's done all of this. Remember, with Semaj Christon on the bench for most of this first half.
Shaquille Thomas has called the foul for Cincinnati, his first. Stainbrook at the line for the Musketeers. Hits them both. Xavier also out-rebounded Cincinnati in a big way, 18-7. That's just been huge here to start. And a foul on D. Davis. Wondering what he was called for there as he picks up his second.
And I'm just thinking as we look up with 3:30 to play, if we would have told Chris Mack today, shoot around, listen, Semaj Christon is going to be in that first half on the bench for most of it, and only play 7 minutes up to this point, and you were going to be up 21 points, he would have said you're crazy.
I mean, I would, exactly. And you wonder, you know, but it's because everybody else has kind of just increased their level just a little bit. And that's what you kind of need in these type of ball games, don't you?
Well, you need ball movement, and he's getting that. You also need unselfishness. As you see a foul there by Stanbrook, probably didn't need it, but you're fine, you're up, you want to play smart at this point. Xavier is really, after the turnovers, after that first 9 or 10 minutes, they have played their game. Spacing has been great, the passing, and they've dominated, not just from the three-point line, but inside as well.
All right, so Stanbrook goes out. He's got 2 fouls. Jalen Reynolds checks back in. Prior to that, D. Davis had went out because he had 2 fouls. Miles Davis is in, so Xavier just kind of shuffling guys in and out here. They have a few people with 2 fouls now, as we talked about. Christon with the 2. Farr has 2. Davis has 2. D. Davis does. And Matt Stanbrook now. So maybe something to kind of keep an eye on, but they'll take it with a 20-point advantage.
Cincinnati right now 3 of 7 from the free throw line. I know it's only a few, but really you have to start making those shots at the free throw line with the clock stopped in order to try to chip away at this with 3:30 to go in this half. Well, it's a team that shoots, what, 72% from the free throw line, just over 72%.
Brandon Randolph. Talented freshman is taking care of the basketball very well this year. 3.1 assist to turnover ratio. And that's what they needed, especially with Christon on the bench. Fillmore's back in for Xavier. They've got 8 to shoot. Randolph for 3. Too long. Rebound pulled home by Rubles, and he's on the run. Rubles rejected out of bounds by Jalen Reynolds.
Talk about staying with the play. Hustle, the young fella, Reynolds, really out of nowhere. That's a setup right there. And Miles Davis attracts the attention, and Reynolds comes in with the block, and the crowd is loving it.
9th block of the season for Reynolds, and in now for the first time tonight, David Narsuk, the senior from the Sudan, from South Sudan, has checked in. We'll see what happens with him now as the foul is going to be called with Titus Rubles going to the free throw line. Fillmore picks it up.
Cincinnati doing a much better job, though, of getting that north to south, I like to call it, scoring opportunities. Get yourself to the front of that rim, into the painted area. Don't settle for jump shots. Try to score with the clock stopped.
Rubles from Dallas, Texas. He's been averaging over 10 points a game and 6 rebounds. Done a nice job for these guys. She talked about it. Free throws. They just have missed a bunch. 3 of 8. Hasn't helped their cause. 4 of 9. As Jermaine Lawrence is back in for Cincinnati with 2:43 to go. And Narsuk's time on the court short-lived. See if this pressure in the backcourt could force a turnover or 2. But this time, Fillmore.
Smart play. Hold it up. You don't need to throw an alley-oop because that's really not your game. Try to increase your lead here.
Martin gets it inside for Reynolds. Trap.
And it looked like a turnover either way for the young fella, either a travel or throwing the ball away.
What did he tell you that design was on his head there? See, what was that?
He told me this morning he basically shaved that in himself, and it was to honor one of his friends that passed away. It was kind of a symbol of their relationship. Very artistic, not the easiest thing to do. I used to do that in high school myself. It's nice to see the little stuff coming back. That's a throwback haircut right there with the part.
That's the cut of hair. That's Jalen Reynolds. He's on the bench now as he goes out. Lawrence here for Cincinnati. Hits the jumper. Good shot by Jermaine Lawrence. He's a freshman from Springfield Gardens, New York for the Bearcats. And it's a 17-point lead for Xavier. Timeout, Musketeers. It's a pretty good timeout here by Xavier. Donnie up by 17 points. Chris Mack has a chance now with under 2 minutes to go to just kind of reel them in here and say, hey, it's been a solid first half, don't blow it.
Previous play was a turnover. Great call, timeout.
Tomorrow, Big East basketball on Fox Sports 1. It continues. We've got a doubleheader. LaSalle taking on number 10 Villanova. The Wildcats 9-0, off to a great start this year for Jay Wright, followed by Chicago State squaring off against DePaul. Coverage begins tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1, presented by New York Life Insurance Company.
It's going to be a great game. Love Jay Wright. Villanova is really doing a terrific job. And, you know, the challenge now for Jay Wright, as you see, then they're number 10 in the country. I mean, they went from unranked to number 10, but that's what happens when you play a couple of good games and you play the right way. Their challenge right now, Mike, is can you get up for the teams that aren't ranked? You know, it's easy to do it when you're playing the Kansas, the Kentucky, the Syracuse, the Dukes. But can you do it when you play against the LaSalle, a team that will come out and play you hard?
Yeah, Villanova won the battle for Atlantis down in the Bahamas. Big tournament win for them.
Yeah, they just play the right way. You know, they play hard. They basically exude what Jay Wright wants.
A big day in college basketball. For those games, we got a foul here on the Bearcats.
A tough play for Davis there. The pass was basically at the shins or far. You'd have to throw a bounce pass or throw it high and let him go get it.
Sorry, no foul, just knocked out. Minute 41 to go. Here's Randolph to get it in. Goes so to Martin. 10 to shoot. Fillmore clearing space and right.
How about the patience? Xavier there. Martin throws the ball inside. 5 seconds to go. Fillmore gets 3 guys up in the air with the reverse finish. Great execution.
First basket of the night for Fillmore. And now Rubers gets his shot partially redirected by James Farr of Xavier. Cincinnati starters shooting the ball right now. 3 of 18 here to start. Davis on the drive. Just rolls off and a call goaltending on Cincinnati. So Miles Davis, basket counts. He's got 5. How about Fillmore getting into the act now?
Isaiah Fillmore doing a great job. Look at that, carving out space. And then gets 3 guys up in the air. Presence of mind to use that rim almost like it's another defender. And then anytime you get your hand caught in the rim on the net, you go up in the bottom side of it. That's an easy goaltend for the refs.
Nice ovation here by the Xavier fans as Eric Stenger has checked in. The Cincinnati product who has had a little bit of a health issue and hasn't played a lot, so now he is in the ballgame. We were told he probably wasn't going to play, so he is in. And we're going to foul here on Xavier with 42.7 seconds to go first half.
And when you go in at halftime, for Coach Cronin, you want to tell your guys, listen, there's a ton of time left in this game, and you have to go back to what happened in the New Mexico game and say, we've been here before. We shot the ball poorly. We haven't done the best job of taking care of the basketball when we needed to, but we can dig our way out of this.
That's a great point, Donnie. They shot 29% in that loss in New Mexico. Kilpatrick, who now has only 4 points in this ball game for Cincinnati. They're going to need a lot out of him in the second half, that's for sure.
And he's going to have to do it, obviously, the right way, but he's the one guy that I think you extend to say, listen, if you take a couple of bad shots, I don't mind it because you're being aggressive. It's going to give us a chance to be underneath for offensive rebounds. He attracts a lot of attention. He will bring 1 or 2 guys that gives you a mismatch if he does happen to miss.
The foul's on Justin Martin, who picked up his second. He goes out. Kilpatrick converts both free throws. D. Davis back in. Xavier's done a nice job of substituting players in this ball game, keeping everybody fresh. When you're out there, I'm sure Chris Mack is like, you better be going 100% this ball game or you're coming out.
Well, they have some guys they can go to on that bench. That's the luxury.
Good steal by Kilpatrick. Hits the jumper.
Aggressive. You don't need to wait for the defense to get set. You don't have to wait for your teammates. You are a true scorer.
Now Xavier can hold for the final shot here, but they don't look like they want to do that. Fillmore, a block and a foul.
And the Cincinnati Bearcat fans do not like it. You know, at first look, it almost looks like the ball slips out of his hand. Let's see if he had some help. He goes up. Might have been hit in the face there a little bit, but that ball was definitely coming out of his hand.
Well, they call him 15, Jermaine Sanders for Cincinnati, his first. Yeah, here's a stat that Xavier needs to work on. 60% coming in, but they're solid tonight. They are working on it. They're getting better. 8 of 9 from the free throw line in this game to come up 18.
When things are going well, this is what happens. You start to make free throws, you make your three-pointers, and you dominate the paint.
What was your motto there you told me earlier about the more you make, the more you make?
And it really is. Guys believe when they start to make free throws mentally, they've already made them when they step up to the free throw line. And I've always been taught the more you make, the more you make.
Well, so far tonight, Xavier has done a lot of things well. Free throw shooting, rebounding, hitting three-pointers. They lead at 41-22, 8 seconds to go. Kilpatrick for three, huge shot before the end of the half. Well, a little something for them to go into the locker room. Now they're down 16.
25 looks better than 19. I mean, it really does. Just looking up at that scoreboard, now Cincinnati believes they can get back into this game.
Xavier 41, Cincinnati 25. The Crosstown Classic in full effect here tonight. Coming up right after these messages, we'll send you to our LA studio for the Fox College Hoops halftime update with Mike Hill and Austin Crozier. Stay tuned. Crosstown Classic in Cincinnati. School separated by just 3 miles. And right now, Xavier with the better half of Cincinnati at the half by 16 points. Hi again, everybody. Mike Corey, former UConn Husky, Donnie Marshall. What was the difference there? What did Xavier do well in that first half as they lead it here by 16?
Battle of wills, but sticking to your game plan. You know, one team in Cincinnati couldn't get into theirs. Xavier, on the other hand, did a terrific job of understanding who they are. And that is, obviously, we know they knock down threes. Talked about that at half already. But the ball movement, to me, was the most important thing. Swing the ball, guys open. Miscommunication on Cincinnati's side, find an open man, and most importantly, you did not abandon who you are inside. As you see Fillmore with the finish here, 10 assists, leads to 65% shooting from the field for Xavier.
Yeah, and that's 10 assists on 13 made baskets. So you're right, doing it inside, doing it outside. As you look at first half stats, second game in a row that Cincinnati has kind of struggled shooting the basketball here as well.
Well, right now, Cincinnati's going to have to figure out how to get the ball into Kilpatrick's hands. He's also going to have to get it in his hands and stay aggressive. I don't mind him taking a few bad shots because he has to put this team on his back right now.
81st meeting between these two here in the 68th consecutive matchup since 1946. Cincinnati and Xavier, second half underway. Here's Stainbrook through a triple team, gets it out to Martin for three, and out, rebound Lawrence.
And you see him chase after it, Martin. The first guy that knows he missed is the shooter. And that situation is exactly what Cincinnati doesn't want, a wide open three-point shooter again in this half.
Semaj Christon, who had 2 early fouls in that first half, sat for a long time. He is back in now to start the second half for Xavier. They did all this without their top player on the bench for most of that first half. Shot clock at 7. Kilpatrick drains it for the Bearcats.
Under duress, a guy in front of him, a guy behind him, but it shows you his skill level, his talent.
That's 12 points for Kilpatrick, and it's going to be a foul on Lawrence up at midcourt on Stainbrook.
I just can't tell you how frustrating it is to have your big foul at half court, especially when you're in a press break situation. Cincinnati got the ball into the right guy's hand because from there, Stainbrook's not going to hurt you. You know, you're a good 45 feet from the basket, 40 feet from the basket. Don't foul him out there.
They're trying to be aggressive. They've had that press on a lot this game.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive, but you have to be smart. Foul trouble got you into some problems early on in this game.
Coach Cronin for Cincinnati wanted to travel, no call. T. Davis off the Stainbrook screen. Stainbrook's pass deflected Fillmore. Right to the basket.
And the ball is bouncing the other way. That's what happens. That was terrific defense for about 30 seconds for Cincinnati, and the ball just bounced the other way. And Mick Cronin's going to bring Gwynn over to the bench and say, you should have had that. And he's absolutely right. You can't turn and look. You have to turn and run.
Back to a 16-point lead for Xavier.
Plenty of time in this game for Cincinnati to stay patient and run your stuff.
Thomas for three. Got it.
Has some good bloodlines. He's the nephew of Tim Thomas, former NBA, terrific NBA player with great ability. Knocks down a three there.
Now the Cincinnati fans rise into the feed. They'll get a steal. But then Colpay gets it right back. That's happened a couple times tonight by these teams. Martin around there, and that's going to be a goal attempt.
Good aggressive. You're not giving up on the play. A couple of young guys down here that come up with a steal and then they give it right back. These are all learning situations for Mick Cronin's young guys. It's a tough way to learn when you're penalized, but still you have to learn from it.
Here's Kilpatrick. His pass deflected by Christon. And Davis's punt by Troy Colpay picks up his second for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like to let the kids play a little bit. You know, the crowd's into it. I don't think there was an advantage there either way. A little bump. Got to let them play through that.
Those are some of the calls that you're starting to see this year. And the referee said, hey, the count's on. And Xavier gets it in.
And in all fairness, it's getting more difficult for the officials to call games as well. They're human.
Stainbrook feeding the cutter. And Fillmore couldn't get it. Kilpatrick wide open for three.
Probably not going to get a better look than that.
Martin on a 3-on-2. Christon, a foul. Offensive foul. And Christon picks up his third and a huge block down low as well. Thomas for Cincinnati.
The focus has been terrific on Semaj Christon defensively by Cincinnati. Take a look here. Stands in. No question about that. Standing straight up outside of the circle. Christon's got to do a better job of being under control. And as much as Chris Mack did not want his stud on the bench in the first half, his guys really stepped up. And he's trying to see if they can do that right now again.
Well, Christon has to go back to the bench where he spent most of his time in that first half. And now a drive to the basket. Good for Colpay. Troy Colpay for Cincinnati.
Right now, the energy level is shifted in this building to the red side.
Look at the steal. Jackson, oh my. How many times has that happened here tonight?
Yeah, you got to be smart with the ball, Jackson. That far away from the basket. You did your job. You got the steal. Let's value it. Give it to the right guy.
Gone by second half. Davis directing traffic. Finds Stainbrook. Martin for three. Connects.
Too much space by Colpay. But Stainbrook understanding. Take your time. Patience. Read the defense. Terrific pass, and they are loving it in white and blue right now.
7 3-pointers by Xavier in this ballgame. We've got a timeout, and we'll step aside. Chris Mack's squad, Mick Cronin's team, Xavier, Cincinnati. Heated rivalry continues. We'll be back.
This is your game.
Let's take a look at the AT&T Impossible Feat. The 1973 National Championship game. It was all Bill Walton in a legendary performance. UCLA's dominant big man scored 44 points in the win against Memphis State. He made 21 of his 22 shots in the field. Tonight's AT&T Impossible Feat. What a game here so far tonight. Cincinnati trying to claw their way back into it, Donnie. Every time it seems like they make a play or two, get a steal, then they turn it over, and they just haven't been able to kind of close that gap. You're saying it could probably be around a 10-point game right now.
Yeah, you'd have really a 9-10-point game if you could take care of the ball, and you could really convert those into buckets if you're Cincinnati. But the fact that they're sticking with it, it looks like Kilpatrick's being a little bit more aggressive. You know, it says a lot about the character of the Cincinnati team.
There's a turnover. Xavier actually has more turnovers in this ball game. They lead it here by 16. Alley-oop try way too high, but it was Justin Jackson that got pushed underneath, down low, and foul.
And that's almost like playing football. There was no chance of catching that ball. Ref, that can't be a foul, right?
Uncatchable, right?
It's uncatchable.
There was no foul. The pass was uncatchable.
It was. Look at that. I mean, who could catch that? Who jumps that high?
Maybe you.
Nah, not these days. My game is more horizontal than vertical these days.
There's Stainbrook going out. He was called for the foul. That's his third. D. Davis had his third foul before we went to timeout. So 2 players now for Xavier with 3 fouls. 3. Christon has 3 as well. Foul here as Rubens goes to the rack, got hit on the hip.
Love the play by Titus Rubens there. Understanding he's not going to settle. And that was one of the things that Xavier talked about in shoot-around today. If you listen to them, they said Rubens is not going to shoot it. We want him to shoot it. This is what they do not want him doing. Get to the basket. Foul should just not happen. You back off and you contest that shot late.
Rubens has got 2 points tonight for Cincinnati. Chris Mack now has to recognize what happens with his players with 3 fouls. He's got 4 of them with 3 personal fouls here.
And the one thing you can say about Cincinnati is their toughness. They are not going to go away. There is no quit on these young fellas.
Christon breaks pressure. His 2 points tonight for Semaj Christon, the top player for Xavier. Good jumper off and on. And here's Cincinnati star Kilpatrick the other way, and he was fouled.
Great job. Put your head down. Put the pressure on the officials to blow the whistle in the open court. And I really believe right now, if Christon is going to try to beat Cincinnati from that mid-range with that jump shot one-on-one, it's not going to get it done. He's been on the bench a long time. Get yourself going and transition a little bit. He loves to get to that right hand. Coach Mack's going to have to run something going that way.
Kilpatrick's got 13 points for Cincinnati. Tonight, Fox Sports Live brings you all the highlights and analysis of a full day of action in college basketball, the NBA, NHL, and a look ahead to tomorrow's NFL games. Don Bell, Ryan Field in the studio with Fox Sports Live after the game right here on Fox Sports 1. So Kilpatrick now at 14, inching his way up to his average, which is almost 20 a ball game. Green takes a seat.
And I like that Kilpatrick makes those shots and then looks up at the scoreboard, not before.
Thomas back in, and a turnover by Xavier. And Chris Mack says, let's talk. Timeout Musketeers. They've led by as many as 21 tonight. The lead is down to 12 in Cincinnati.
Welcome to Santa's Big Christmas Secret 2013. You guys ready?
Go for greatness, people. Pizza Hut, make it great.
Bragging rights in the city of Cincinnati on the line tonight between the Bearcats and the Musketeers, separated by just 3 miles. One of the more memorable contests between these two teams came in 1996. The Bearcats were ranked #1 in the country. The game went down to the wire. Xavier's Lenny Brown, a game-winning shot, but the Musketeers ahead 71-69. And they have had some battles over the years. 1999, same type of thing. Cincinnati was ranked #1 then as well. Xavier won by 2. You see each coach's record against the opponent in this Crosstown Classic.
That Bobby Huggins team in '96, only 4 losses, and that was one of them. You saw it right there. Pretty special for Xavier.
Cincinnati won it last year here at U.S. Bank Arena, neutral site, if you will, for the two teams. But of course, in Cincinnati, 60-45 was the score, and Cincy's won 2 of the last 3. Kilpatrick trying to dump it down to Jackson, ended up getting it after the tip. Thomas for 3. Christon the rebound for Xavier. Knocked out by Rubles.
Good hustle right there by Cincinnati. But again, Xavier and Christon should notice you don't need that pass. Right now what's happening is Cincinnati's building up some confidence. They're getting themselves back into that game. Don't help them do that by throwing a jump ball basically to the other end of the floor.
Hard not to get caught up in it sometimes, though, huh?
It really is. But if you're Christon, that's a part of leadership.
Martin blocked, got it back, the corner jump. Good job by Titus Rubles for Cincinnati to tie it up, and it gives them the possession.
This is why I'm sitting here next to you, because I would have either called a foul or a travel. I would not have called a jump ball. As you take a look, and again, that's why I'm sitting next to you and they're wearing the stripes. That was a pretty good call in hindsight.
Now Xavier with some pressure in the backcourt. Kilpatrick breaks it. Nothing easy tonight, huh?
Well, that's what you would expect from these two teams, right, in this game.
Kilpatrick, nice move down the lane. Double clutch, runner doesn't go. The tip doesn't go as well. Rubles had a chance.
Sometimes the close ones are the hardest ones. The putback has to happen, though. You got to have your bigs in position when help steps up. Got to make those bunnies.
For the double team, gets out of it. Martin track.
Right now, the name of the game is composure. You know, and Xavier has to not play that scoreboard. You know, at times you get up and the environment gets to you and you start to play not to lose. It's way too early for that if you're Xavier.
Well, that's 6 turnovers this half for the Musketeers. As Kevin Johnson goes out for Cincinnati. 16 total for the game. Propane pressure in the backcourt. Xavier fans wanting a double dribble, no call. Kilpatrick is fouled.
I think that ball was hit away. It looked like there might have been a little deflection. And regardless, Propane, the youngster, making the right play. Yeah, take a look. Looked like it might have been deflected, but the youngster making the right play. Find your senior leader and let him get to that free throw line.
Fouls on James Farr, his 4th for Xavier, and Stainbrook is up off the bench, is going to check in for him. Kilpatrick, the senior from Yonkers, New York. As Farr goes out with the 4 fouls, Stainbrook has some words for him. How about Kilpatrick, one of 12 players to play for Team USA, the World University Games in Russia. A lot of great experience. Really one of the top players in the country, the way he's able to do so many things well.
Yeah, when you go from one conference to the next, as he's doing right now, from the Big East to the AAC, and you can still be an all-conference player, it says a lot about the kid at his talent level. And we don't even know the half of his leadership skills that he's playing right now for McCown.
Listen to this place. Kilpatrick cut it to a 10-point game. Christon. 10 to shoot. Into Fillmore. kicks it, and a three-pointer up and good by Brandon Randolph, the freshman.
Pretty good patience there by Xavier, but even more pressure by Cincinnati. They just didn't make that extra play, that extra rotation.
Coach Chris Mack for Xavier fired up after that shot. That stopped a little 6-0 Cincinnati run. And a 10 to shoot for the Bearcats. Thomas, too short.
Great job, Stainbrook, standing in and not committing another foul. That's what you like to see from your youngster Randolph, getting guys in their order, handing it off to Christon. Get your balance.
Christon, he's tied up, and that is a jump, but it's going to stay with Xavier on the alternating possession era.
And this is exactly what Xavier needed, getting back to the first half. Extra pass. Xavier hanging on.
This is nice.
Rivalry continues here tonight in Cincinnati. College basketball on Fox Sports 1. Xavier by 13 points. We've got under 12 minutes to go, and we've got some foul trouble here for Xavier, Donnie. Farr's got 4. Then there's Christon, Davis, Stainbrook, all with 3 fouls here for the Musketeers.
Yeah, and really doing it to themselves, a little out of control. Cincinnati obviously puts the pressure on you, but Cincinnati is really undersized. And Xavier trying to get themselves back under control with all the guys in foul trouble on the bench.
Christon is just 1 of 2 from the field tonight with 2 points. Now he tries a 3 and he hits it.
Pretty amazing. He's not a kid you would think of that shoots a ton of threes, you know, on the season. He just lets the game come to him.
It's like, Mike, I know the numbers. I haven't done much tonight. There you go.
As soon as you say it, only his, 9th three-pointer attempted on the season.
Well, in terms of threes tonight, too, how about Xavier? 3 of 4 this half, 9 of 13 overall for the game. As the ball got hit out underneath the scores table as they retrieve it.
I thought you had it.
I know, I'm looking for it.
That was like earlier shoot-around. I was trying to get a couple of shots, and you kept clapping your hands and putting your hands open. Like, here, give it to me.
Kilpatrick for Cincinnati. Fouled on the drive on the floor, and it's on Brandon Randolph, his second, the freshman for the Musketeers.
Yeah, besides that three-point line for Xavier, Cincinnati is sticking to what they do. They're trying to beat you off the dribble. I thought right there was a better job by Kilpatrick of being under control. Remember, this is a team in Cincinnati coming into this game that shot over 72% from the free throw line. Very good team from the stripe.
With a 17th foul, makes it a 1-and-1, but Kilpatrick misses. Randolph. And saved. Nice play by Miles Davis to keep it in. Randolph with a step back. In and out. Jackson, for Cincy, got it to stay in play.
And you get the feel when you have your bigs, Rubens, trying to do his own thing. And you see a good take there by Shaquille Thomas. Just stepped out of bounds. But you get a feel that the ball is going to be turned over. Why do they don't get the ball to Kilpatrick a little sooner? It just escapes me, the answer to that.
Well, he's trying to bring them back, but they're still down by 16 points. Xavier has really kept Cincinnati at bay since he got it to 10. That's as close as they've been in a long time. They've never led in this ball game tonight. Stainbrook held.
Love the action. Big fella passes, then he cuts. You know, really that continuous movement. It's just tough to guard, even for a team like Cincinnati. I mean, look at the cut. You slip, you fake the pick, slip to the basket. Didn't see a lot of contact.
Somewhat of a tough cover at times if he's going to come up high like that and make the plays that he makes.
And he knows how to carve out space. And we talked earlier about laterally moving might be a challenge for him. But still, he knows how to play the game at that position. Pick and roll, pick and slip.
Jermaine Lawrence out. Shaquille Thomas back in for Cincinnati. And Christon sets things up.
I like this Christon off the ball. They're going to run a couple screens for him. He likes to get to that right hand.
Halfway through the second half. Christon a long three. Nails it.
And you see why everyone's talking about him being the All-American. Came back in the game, not trying to get it all back at one time. Knocks down 2 3-pointers to just stretch that lead a little bit more for the Musketeers. And you set up thinking he's going to go hard right because he loves that right hand. And Stainbrook again occupies the defense just long enough. You give him space, knocks it down from the top. Seems to be his sweet spot at the top of that three-point line tonight.
(57-38). As Christon has come alive in the second half. Tomorrow, Syracuse and St. John's, the #2 ranked Orange. It's at Madison Square Garden. To take on the Red Storm, an early season showdown and a renewal of their classic rivalry. Check it out at noon Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1, presented by New York Life Insurance Company.
It's interesting watching Xavier. It shows you a little bit about their character as well. Turning the ball over a ton, battling back, staving off Cincinnati, trying to make a little bit of a push. Coach Mack he's got some mixed emotions right now. They turn the ball over a lot, but you're still up 19 points.
Sizable advantage. Mick Cronin on the sideline for Cincinnati. He's going to slow and steady here. He knows he's got plenty of time, but doesn't seem too worried right now.
Well, as long as Kilpatrick is on the bench, it shows you he's not worried. But he has guys who can get to the basket. There's one of them right there. You have to move your feet in this game. Mick Cronin knows that the point of emphasis this year, one of them at least, is hand checking. So what do you tell your guys? Get to the rim.
So Christon picks up his 4th foul as Randolph checks back in. And now he's going to have to sit for quite some time. He's still got 9:16 to go. There's Kevin Johnson, the freshman. Can't get the free throw.
You're giving yourselves opportunities if you're the Bearcats, but if you don't convert, it means nothing besides getting Christon into more foul trouble.
There's D. Davis. Martin wants it. Heavily defended. They're going to call the offensive foul on Martin, battling with Jermaine Sanders of Cincinnati.
And the longer you take, the more room there is for error, and that's exactly what happened. D. Davis just couldn't get the ball to Martin in the post, so it makes Martin work harder to get open, and you just can't hold the guy behind you.
Xavier fans starting to get infuriated here. A few of these foul calls as half this squad is in foul trouble right now, but they still lead it by 19. It's 3 on Martin. Here's Kilpatrick. Pushes off, floats it up, no. Stainbrook, another rebound.
Right now, time's on your side if you're Xavier. No reason to hurry. Get set up into your spots and run your stuff.
Randolph double teamed up by half court. They'll tie him up. And another jump ball, and this one goes to Cincinnati.
And a rare situation for Randolph. And as young players, you're taught, do not dribble to half court, the corners of half court, because basically the half court line works as another defender.
Yeah. Cincinnati needs something. They haven't made a field goal since 16:36 left in this second half. Over 8.5 minutes. Still struggling, but they get on the offensive end. Sanders. That's not good.
And right now you just feel like they're playing hurry up. They're watching the clock a little bit, feeling like they're running out of time.
How about the rejection by Justin Jackson on D. Davis's shot? And we'll step aside. 7:39 left in this Crosstown Classic. Xavier leading big.
For every late night, every week.
Each for just $1.
Sabres are knocking down three-pointers all game tonight, Donnie.
Just too much airspace Cincinnati's giving them. Look at this. No one is in 3 feet of Christon, and then you have to go out there and get it yourself. Pretty good pick. Step up there. 4 or 5 in this half for Xavier from three-point land.
6 different Musketeers are knocked down at three-pointers. You look at tonight's DirecTV game summary as Xavier leads it by 19.
9 field goals not enough for Kilpatrick, in my opinion. I think he's got to be up around that 15, 16, 17 mark. Doing a great job of getting to the free throw line on the other side. You know, Justin Martin stepping up, almost doubling his average in points. It's what both coaches are looking for out of their guys. But right now, one team, this is really lopsided because one team has really pressed their will upon the other, and that's Xavier doing a great job.
Steinberg catches it pretty low, but can't convert the shot.
Couldn't get a better look than that. So much space because you have to respect the three-point shooters. It gives you a lot of room down low.
Here's a three by Jericho Payne. That's in and out. Jackson, big offensive rebound.
He just missed the moment. Kilpatrick was wide open as soon as he caught it.
Sorry, playing over there saying there he is, and he missed him. You're right. Here's a three ball up by Kyle Johnson. It's no good. Quick shot by Martin. What about?
Martin had enough time to check the wind, spin the ball a few times. It's one of those nights for him.
17 points for Justin Martin for Xavier. Payne hits this three. The pressure in the backcourt.
And this pressure has to be to speed up Xavier a little bit so you can hurry up and get that ball back.
Well, they forced a couple and haven't converted. A couple after they've gotten steals, they've turned it right back over. Christon and Farr set the check back in for Xavier. 10 to shoot. Martin to the basket and fouled before the shot.
Martin's a nice little player. You know, you see that he averages about 7 points a game, and I think that's just a product of not getting a ton of touches. But he was struggling a little bit coming in, shooting the basketball 30% from 3. It was probably one of those breakout games he needed in this building against Cincinnati, and he's really stepped up tonight.
Payne picks up his 4th foul for Cincinnati. Go back to Martin for a second. You know, the junior from Indianapolis, Indiana, went to prep school in West Virginia. And you're right. I think a guy that maybe you don't give enough respect to at times. And you know, all of a sudden, the last game had a huge game and a win over Evansville with a basket late. I think and now foul on Cincinnati. Sean Kilpatrick is second for the inbounds pass.
And the crowd clapping sarcastically at the officials like, hey, you called one for us finally.
And that'll really make it a for it, so he comes it up.
You gotta love fans. They just both teams, Cincinnati and Xavier, their fans are terrific here.
You know, that's what I like. These people walk up and they see the fouls and they think it should be like even. You know, it's like, hey, they've got 8 more fouls. And I said, well, maybe they fouled 8 more times.
That's right.
You know, it's like, I'm
maybe
sorry.
your team is just not that good.
It's not their job, you know, for us to even it out. 59-41, Xavier by 18. There's Miles Davis, slips. Off of Cincinnati out of bounds. They turn the shot clock and 5:25 to go.
And part of his game he's still working on. He's a terrific shooter. He has to figure out how to put that ball on the floor and be more of a mid-range guy after you set him up with the shot fake from deep.
Copain out, freshman Kevin Johnson back in. Christon. Far the offensive rebound.
That's a far goes very well. We've seen him knock down a couple threes in this game, but I think that's his strength. You know, that second shot player, you don't have to run anything for him because of his length and his putbacks on that offensive glass.
Kilpatrick, and he is fouled. Well, that's going to do it for James Farr.
Well, the little guys, that's their territory, 18, 19 feet. And when a big is out there moving his feet, trying to stay in front, usually at a disadvantage. And the ref called it there for his 5th foul.
Not a bad night though for James Farr. 10 points, 6 rebounds. That's the high five from Isaiah Fillmore, and he hears it from the fans and gets a high five from head coach Chris Mack.
And really got them going early with his big three-pointer in front of the Cincinnati bench. It really seemed to erupt his team and open the floodgates to start the game.
Well, you're right. He hit 2 3-pointers in this game tonight. What are you going to do when you're 6'9", 237-pound sophomore?
How do you guard that, right?
And Farr didn't miss a shot tonight. He was 4 for 4 from the field.
We're talking an 86% free throw shooter in Sean Kilpatrick. And he has struggled, in my opinion. I think when you talk about the numbers, he is 7 of 12 from the foul line. That is unlike him.
Now, this Xavier faithful has just been backing their team all night, and why not when they're up big? But I think that's also played a part and into the minds of some of the Cincinnati players tonight. You know, it just seemed like they're up against it.
Well, the Cincinnati fans haven't had much to cheer about from the very beginning of this game, and once you take the fans out of it, it makes it a little easier for your team if you're Xavier.
See all the Xavier fans all from the midcourt to the right, all right around that area, all wrapped around the basket. Xavier's been going in that direction this half, and they've had a lot to cheer about. Shot clock inside 10. Christon along 3. Short.
Another part of these games, talking to the coaches at shoot-around that Christon has worked on in the summer, you know, trying to be a pull-up jump shooter. And I love the fact that he's not a kid. He's taken, what, 9, 10 three-pointers this season. He doesn't settle for three-point shots like we see in the game today from the guard position. So many kids think, I just want to be a three-point shooter. You know, it's that television syndrome where it's either dunks or three-pointers. He has not fallen into that, and it's really a breath of fresh air for a kid like Christon.
And just a sophomore, too. That's good. A good sign. Kilpatrick now. To the block for Jermaine Lawrence. It's by Fillmore. Fillmore ends up going to rebound.
They did everything but make the bucket. In that great position, they threw the ball inside, and they just couldn't convert.
Well, now if you're Xavier, now you take some time off the clock here on the offensive end.
Well, you play the right way. You know, you finish this game. We know these teams have a lot of history, and you want to be respectful. Obviously, there's 3:40 to go and tons of time to go. But Xavier showing them that the game is not over. By putting a nice three-pointer. Cincinnati can't relax right now. You finish this game the last 3.5 playing with pride.
'Twas the bazillionth winter for the Johnsons' TV, and fed up Dad said, "Time for it."
Sensing the bragging rights in their direction for this year in the battle between Cincinnati and Xavier, the Crosstown Classic, 81st meeting of all time between these two here at U.S. Bank Arena. Mike Corey alongside former UConn Husky Donnie Marshall. Nice to have you with us here tonight on Fox Sports 1. It's a 22-point Xavier advantage, Donnie, largest of the game for the Musketeers.
Yeah, and Xavier has really, they've withstood really their own issues. Really brought them by themselves, turning the ball over, start the game, a barrage of turnovers. Second half looked a lot like how the first half began, and they really worked their way out of it.
Kilpatrick, offensive foul.
And there's another call on offensive foul that, his feet look to be moving to me. You just never know. But right now, Xavier in full control, up 22 with 3 minutes to go.
No, kids today. It's all gadgets and internet.
4-42, just 3:18 to go in this contest tonight from U.S. Bank Arena. As the Musketeers looks like they'll be on their way to 8-3. Let's take a look at tonight's Land Rover player of the game. And we're going with Justin Martin for Xavier.
You scout the kid, you say, okay, let's make him beat us. Not your stud, Christon, but he really met the challenge. And he was talking to everybody. He's feeling good. 17 points, 5 of 9, 3 for 5 from three-point range. For a kid who's really been struggling, only 30% on the season from behind the arc. It's a huge, huge breakout game for him. Again, in this building, in front of his fans, and playing against the Bearcats.
And Christon calls timeout for Xavier. They couldn't get the ball in bounds. They've got 2 timeouts left.
And these are learning situations. The game's out of reach a little bit here with 3:18 to go, but for both coaches, if you're Chris Mack, you're telling your guys, okay, let's play the right way. Let's take this last 3:18, take care of the basketball, move the basketball, let's play productively. And on the other side, Cronin's guys have to play with some pride these last couple of minutes. Play the right way. It could be out of reach, even though we're still playing the game, and there's still plenty of time. Play the right way.
Big early season test with these teams, Donnie and Xavier from the A-10, now in the Big East. Cincinnati from the Big East, now in the American Athletic Conference. Something like this, you don't forget about these type of ball games as you get into your now new respective conferences.
Yeah, and then talking to Coach Mack at shoot-around, he said, listen, we're going to have a new challenges this season, meaning we haven't played against a lot of the teams in the Big East. Preparation's going to be much different, getting our guys ready for some different competition. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge.
Fox Sports Live is coming up next. Tom Bell, Ryan Field in the studio. Stay tuned for that right here on Fox Sports 1. Just over 3 minutes left. Stainbrook. Like a spin against Jackson. And they call Jackson with a foul, his third.
He knows how to use that body down there, doesn't he? Can you imagine this kid at, what, 40, 50, 60 pounds heavier? I can't imagine he was, that much bigger. How much of a load would he be then?
Well, he's 263 right now, but you're right. I mean, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. And he shed a lot this summer, and he knows how to use it, that's for sure.
Stainbrook's got 10 rebounds tonight. Nice little floater by Shaquille Thomas.
And Stainbrook's got the quietest 10 rebounds that I've seen in a long time from a big man. When we talk about these teams moving conferences, what Cronin said earlier today as well, it's a different challenge. They've never played Memphis. They haven't played teams like that to prepare for and to get ready going into game in and game out.
Stainbrook's pass deflected and intercepted. Here comes Kevin Johnson. Feeds Thomas, who does.
One of the bright spots, you turn basically Xavier over, and then you convert. And I think that's a little bit of what the identity is for Cincinnati this season. I call it mindless basketball. You don't have to think about running plays. Great offense with your D.
Well, Xavier calls a timeout. We got two great programs here out of this great city of Cincinnati. Both will be going places. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Stay tuned.
For every late night, every weekend.
Time under 2 minutes to go before the break, talking about what these programs have done and where they're headed. You know, Cincinnati 81-33, Donnie, over the past 3+ seasons. 3 trips to the NCAA tournament, the last 3 under Coach Mick Cronin. Xavier and Chris Mack, they went to the Sweet 16 in 2010, 2012. First 3 out of 4 years under him. So these two programs, I mean, you're watching an early season matchup between the two, and you might be seeing both of them, making some headway.
When you try to build culture, and 2 Elite 8s, 3 Sweet 16s in the last 10 years, like you said, for Xavier, that's saying a lot. That's your culture. And on the other side, Cincinnati, same thing. They're a little undermanned, I believe, this season, but you still have the right guy in control of Mick Cronin to get this team back to where we're used to seeing in the last few years.
Christon on the miss. Randolph's pass intercepted. We got a foul. Yeah, both of these programs went to the Sweet 16 in 2012. I mean, it's amazing. And that's the 5th foul for Christon. So not quite the night in terms of consistency for him, in terms of staying on the floor. He had a sit for a ton of that first half, but then in the second half, he hits a couple of big 3-pointers, ends up fouling out, but hey, he helped them to, this big win here tonight. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he did, and I think guys really stepped up, and the way that you show your leadership is when times are hard for you, you continue to support your teammates, and I thought he did that from the bench. He didn't fade. His body language showed a lot in the timeouts. This is a kid who's only a sophomore. We talk about the programs, their story. If you think about all the players, talking today to the coaches, Xavier, a lot of, Aaron Williams, you go down the list, Brian Grant, David West. I mean, some terrific players who have helped establish what they are today. Cincinnati on the other side. Kenyon Martin, one of my former teammates. Ruben Patterson, Art Long, guys who are in the building today. Lance Stevenson.
And credit both schools and programs for understanding what they have in Mick Cronin at Cincinnati. Right. Chris Mack and Xavier both have contract extensions through 2018.
And great relationships with their alumni, which is so important for any high-level university to really say, hey, we remember how we got to this point, and we're going to continue to bring those guys back to teach our young guys.
Randolph in the miss, Jackson the rebound, and an awesome atmosphere here tonight at U.S. Bank Arena. Of course, most of the Cincinnati fans gone. Xavier has been doing most of the cheering, as you would imagine. 64-46, and a foul with 35.8 to go.
Now, this is a tough stretch for Cincinnati. If you look back, I mean, last week, their last game was last Saturday, lost to New Mexico. Now they come back a week later, and they have to sit through another tough loss.
Yeah, and for Cincinnati, Donnie, look at it. I mean, they got to go play Pittsburgh and Madison Square Garden coming up on Tuesday. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah, you have to forget about this game immediately because Tuesday's game against Pitt is not going to be any easier than what you got here tonight.
Huge ovation from the fans as Xavier's top players are out for the rest of the night. The free throw shooting, you saw the stat. They haven't helped themselves tonight, Cincinnati, at the free throw line, that's for sure. Xavier's going to have a week off before they go to play at Alabama next Saturday. And so Xavier pretty much just run this thing out. They end up winning their 3rd straight game here tonight, and Cincinnati's going to drop 2 in a row after starting 7-0. Loss at New Mexico, and here tonight versus their crosstown rival 3 miles down the road.
I believe this was a statement game for both teams. Statement games mean you learn about yourself, and I think Xavier learned a ton about who they were tonight with their starting against most of the game.
So the Crosstown Classic in Cincinnati for 2013 belongs to Xavier. 64-47, the final score. For Donnie Marshall, the rest of our Fox crew, Mike Corey, thanks so much for watching. Don't go away. Fox Sports Live starts right now.